I've had the privilege at this point to talk to a bunch of pretty successful game developers. Sometimes they approach me because, they're viewers of Bite Me Games, or sometimes I just cold approach them to ask like, hey, what's your advice, what's your tips and all of that. And I noticed this very funny correlation between the angry game dev YouTuber comments on this channel, for example, that have never shipped a game in their life, and then the people who have made millions of dollars from their small, like, solo developed games. And it is that both of them kind of say the same thing. Just make a good game. And I'm sitting here like, what does this mean? What does make a good game actually mean? And it inspired me to make also like this meme, which is also the thumbnail of the video, of you have these two spectrums. You have the people who have no idea about how game development works at all, and they're saying, just make a good game. And then you have the people who have successfully made it, and they're also telling you, just make a good game, bro. And then you have people like me, and maybe you, in the middle, who are over worrying maybe about market validation, iterative development, immediately getting good hooks, and all of those things where it seems like the real pros, so to say, they don't do that. They just say, make a good game, brother, it's gonna be easy. And I think that's kind of wrong. I think I'm gonna come out swinging. I think they partially also say it because it's way more sexy than being like, yeah, I got lucky, or yeah, I was at the right place at the right time, or like, yeah, I knew what I was doing. It's just like, just make a good game. So I want to dive a bit deeper into that. This is all the shade I'm gonna throw, don't worry. Because I think to a certain degree, make a good game is important. But I think an important thing here is that I think it's more than just a good game. I think that's what it comes down to. I think a game is three main parts. It's the game idea, step number one. What is your game going to be? We'll see why this is important. Then we have the actual game, the thing, the .exe file that people are going to play. And then lastly, it's all of the marketing and messaging around the game, basically, of, hey, these are the capsules, these are all of those things. And I think you as the developer don't just need to make a good game. You need to do all three of those things. And I think it's more of like, just be a good game development studio, is I think a more accurate version to say, where you do everything. And you do everything as good as you can. Because making a good game is kind of the minimum bar of entry on Steam. Just when I talk about game, I'm just gonna say this now, I'm always talking just about the pure .exe file, basically, because I don't agree with the statement, make a good game. I think you need to do more than making a good game. I just wanna be clear about that, where you could technically just make only a good game. But this is the problem then, with those two other like fields, basically. You can make a good game, but it's just a bad game idea. It's something that people don't really care about, and it doesn't matter if it's the most like bug-free and polished experience if it's a game that nobody's interested in. If it's a game idea that is not really something that should have been made, for example, because then people won't care about it. And that kind of leads in as well of like, okay, you can have a good game idea. Like my favorite example of this is always like, you could make the most polished like 2D bullet hell, like Toho style game basically, but it's just something that doesn't really fit in this time and place of Steam anymore. And it's like, cool, you've made a very good game, but nobody is ever going to want to play this, nobody is ever going to play this in general. So nobody's even going to figure out that the game is good. I think that's a big one. And I think you see this even more with marketing. I know it's a big dirty word, and we would rather just say, just make a good game, versus why did this game perform well? Yeah, because I did all of the marketing tips and tricks by Chris Zukowski and whatever. That's not as, it's not as bro-y to say, but it is super important, because the first interaction people will have with your game is not going to be your game, if that makes sense. What are they going to see? They're not going to actually play the game the first thing that they do. No, instead they're going to look at your capsule, they're going to look at your Steam short page description, they're going to look at the hook of your game, the visuals, maybe the trailer, all of those things, but not the actual gameplay. And this is why, it's a hard pill to swallow, but the visuals matter a lot on Steam, for example, as well. Making a good game is everything. It's making good visuals, it's making good code, it's making all of that, because it all feeds into that hook, for example, making people interested in wanting to play your game. And I think this is where a lot of people may also drop the ball a little bit of, I've seen this. We get like demos submitted for our viewer games, for example, and then they have this horrible AI capsule art. It's like miserable. It's so bad. And then I play the game because it's like part of my thing. It's like, okay, I'll give you feedback on the Steam page and I'll play the game. And then the game itself is actually fairly decent. And it's like, okay, you have this bar of gold of a game, but it's just piled with shit on it that people don't even want to like dig deeper and see what the game is about. And that is going to be a very uphill battle, because that is the thing as well where marketing does make sense. And this comes into the factor of luck as well, where at the end of the day, some people that I spoke to do actually have the balls to say like, yeah, I got lucky to a certain degree, whether it is right place, right time, or having connections, or other stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we made a game and we had a very cute and cozy style, and then we got picked up by the Wholesome Direct, and that suddenly gave us like 20,000 wish lists. That is part of making a good game, of course, like you need to have a good game, but those wish lists came before the gameplay actually existed. The important thing then, of course, is okay, on release, can you deliver upon that gameplay experience? And this is where some developers definitely do fail as well. You see this with games that you often see in that mostly positive category, between 70 and 80% positive ratings, of like, people are interested in it. You have a good idea, you have a good hook, you give good visuals and all of that, but the gameplay just isn't fully there yet. It's too raw, it's too buggy at certain points, where you will not usually make $1 million or whatever with a mostly positive game, for the most part. And then I think to go back to that difference between like the dumb side and the smart side of just make a good game, is that they kind of, whilst they say the same words, they have different meanings. When someone who is a terminally online Redditor says, just make a good game, and then they show you their game, it's like, this is not a good game. I'm gonna be honest with you. But they believe it's the best game. They lack the self-reflection, let's say, because of course they're on Reddit, to see that their game actually is not something that people would want to actually play. I think it's a very eye-opening thing of like, if you ask someone, hey, would you actually pay money for your game? I think a lot of developers would just lie and say, oh yeah, definitely, bro, definitely, I'll buy money for it, $20, $20. Whilst in reality, they wouldn't. They would skip on their own game. But they are so, you know, Stockholm syndromed into working on their game that they kind of forget this. Whereas someone who is on that smart side is like, just make a good game. You're getting like to the Jonas Tyroller levels of good, where they have so much humility and always be like, it's not really good yet, I'm gonna work more on it. And then what they call good is actually like a 98% positive game on Steam, but super clear hook, super good gameplay, no bugs, no issues whatsoever. And whilst they both say, just make a good game, it's just a very big difference. And I think that is a big problem with the biters as well, the Bite Me audience of like, you know, your games aren't good enough to a certain degree. And I know this sounds extremely rude, and I know that because our games aren't good enough. We are trying actively to make less shitty games, but we're not there yet, which means that you also need to choose at certain points to just have the balls to say, yeah, this game isn't good enough right now, and I don't see myself making this game good enough right now, which is why we've canceled so many games in the past few months or like half year or whatever, because the start of 2025, I told myself, look, if I want to say like your games are not good enough, I need to hold myself to that higher standard as well. I need to also be more critical. And I think that is something that a lot of people lack, that criticalness of, is this game actually good? Or do I just want to say it's good so I don't hurt my own ego? I think that's a very big important thing as well. You can talk all you want about marketing and whatever, and you can say that, oh, my game is good, I just didn't get the marketing or whatever. One of the things that I honestly really hate is like on Actually Everything app, you see like sometimes these posts of like, my game is good, the algorithm is just bad, my game is good, the algorithm is just bad. It's like a whole trend thing, whatever, where they seemingly are like blaming the algorithm for their game not picking up, when in reality, it goes back to, are you as a studio doing everything that you can? Are you making a game that is visually interesting enough? Are you making a game that is mechanically deep enough if you have a demo? Are you making a game where you are trying to do enough marketing, not just uploading a trailer and then sending like 10 builds to like YouTubers 3 days before launch? Then probably it's kind of, you know, your fault almost. If you actually have a real good looking game, and you do actual real good marketing, you send out hundreds of emails to content creators, you get your game trailer, you have like the multiple waves of game trailers, like announced trailer, release trailer, demo trailer, whatever. You do all your marketing beats for all of those things, and you have a game that can deliver upon it. I think in reality, yeah, game dev is easy. There's an easy formula. It's just that doing all of those things well and good enough, and then I mean good enough in the sense of like actually great, not just good, I think then honestly, you have a very good shot of being successful. Because I think if we were to quantify this with numbers, the average Redditor's good game is a 6 out of 10, whereas the guy who has like made $1 million, their game is like a 9.5 out of 10, a 10 out of 10 maybe. And they also put in that same level of effort for marketing. They have 9 out of 10 marketing, they have 9 out of 10 hooks, they have 9 out of 10 visuals, whatever. Whereas the guy who has a 6 out of 10 game does a 2 out of 10 on marketing and has a 0 out of 10 on playtesting because he's too scared to get feedback for his game. And I think these are the more important things to keep in mind. I think you can't go wrong with being the middle guy. The middle guy is just the baby evolution of the guy who has made it successful, where you know you have to worry about marketing and validation and community management and all of those things, but you're just not good enough at it yet right now. You're not at that 9 out of 10 level yet. And I think if you keep going at it for a few more games, you're going to hit it. You're just not there right now. But I do believe, and maybe this is, once again, this is me being too optimistic, I do see myself becoming a just make a good game guy in a few years from now. But it would mean that I kind of have lost track of all the small things that I've done in between coming up with the game idea and releasing the game. And I hope I can stay grounded enough to always tell you like, yeah, it's been marketing, it's been all of these other things as well. And it is not just make a good game with passion. That's the bare minimum you have to do, but there's a lot more that's needed to make a good game. I think I wrote down as like my own definition of like just make a good game. It's like just make a good game that people instantly want to play and that actually delivers upon the experience they were looking on. I think that is more of what the goal should be instead of just make a good game, bro. So I'm curious, how do you see it? Do you feel like you are honestly making good games? Or maybe you realize like, hey, my games aren't really that good yet, but I'm going to put my everything still in it. I'm very curious to see your thoughts on this because I feel like this is a controversial topic to a certain degree. So I do want to know your opinion about it. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was still an interesting video. We talk about game development every week here, so if that's something that you're interested in, be sure to head down below and subscribe so you'll be notified whenever we upload these videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!